With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories: crime rate falls as St. Kitts Nevis focuses on citizen security.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett calls the $22 million ECCB governor's residence an example of conspicuous consumerism. Inter-Caribbean Airways introduces custom plane bearing St. Kitts Nevis flag.
St. Kitts and Nevis poised for renewable energy revolution with implementation of smart meter and feed-in tariff policy. St. Lucia Police Commissioner addresses criticism of police crime fighting strategy. Jamaica opposition parties stress healthcare and crime as major issues on campaign trail. Now, the details.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has confirmed that Crown Counsel Chantrice Dorset was granted bail with several conditions following her January arrest. Major inquiries led to the police confirming that Dorset was bailed on February 27th after repeated requests for information. According to the police, the conditions of her bail are as follows. 1. Dorset must report to the Bastard Police Station 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. She must surrender all travel documents and is prohibited from attempting to leave the jurisdiction. A stop order has since been placed at all ports in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dorset must reside with her family in Bastille. She is not permitted to have any contact, either directly or indirectly, with any prosecution witness or with Kyron Phillip, B.J. Tuckett, J. Wilkerson, or their associates. Any breach of these conditions will result in the immediate revocation of her bail. Dorset faces charges related to the escape of wanted man Kyron Phillip from the island. Back in January, Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith announced that Dorset was charged with accessory after the fact to murder, attempting to pervert the course of justice by assisting the fugitive in fleeing the Federation to avoid a murder investigation, attempting to pervert the course of justice by helping the fugitive escape to evade a charge of unlawful possession of a firearm, attempting to pervert the course of justice by aiding the fugitive in evading trial for the attempted murder of an individual in an unrelated case, misconduct in public office by advising and counseling the fugitive based on her knowledge as a prosecutor to help him evade the police, and corruption for attempting to use her office as a prosecutor to facilitate the surrender of the firearm used in the murder under an amnesty program. Philip was later arrested in St. Martin.
The crime rate in St. Kitts and Nevis has seen positive shifts, particularly in homicides. The Honourable Senator Iseline Phillip, Minister of Social Development and Gender Affairs, Youth Empowerment, Aging and Disabilities, addressed the plans for the Citizen Security Secretariat and highlighted the reduction in homicides compared to the same period in 2024. Minister Phillip outlined the government's approach to citizen security, emphasizing community engagement and a public health strategy.
In relation to citizen security and the Advisory Council and our plans in regards to that. So the question, of course, in relation to the reduction in homicides and the fact that we haven't seen any, as the Prime Minister said, I believe is attributed to a combination of things, not only the efforts from national security in relation to law enforcement and criminal justice, but of course because of the response that we've been getting and the efforts we're really making to engage with the community, which is what we're really trying to do through citizen security. By making sure that we have very strong community engagement. So we do have all hands on deck and everybody taking responsibility for making sure that we can, in fact, create peaceful and safe societies and communities.
The government plans to continue re-engaging communities and addressing their expressed needs.
In terms of plans moving forward, we would have launched the 90-day campaign last year to where we started, and we went into the communities for community conversations to get everybody involved and sharing their own views. We do plan to continue this year by re-engaging the communities in a different way, where we hope to really be able to be responsive to some of the needs that the communities expressed.
The Citizen Security Secretariat aims to work closely with national security to identify hotspots for criminal activity. The Ministry of Education will also be a key partner in applying a public health approach to interrupt the transmission of violence among at-risk youth.
Of course, we want to continue working very closely with national security because they do have the information and data as to which communities and which areas are hotspots for criminal activity and have more of a proclivity towards violence. And we want to also continue with the partnerships with the Ministry of Education because, of course, as the Prime Minister says, in terms of applying the public health approach, we do need to be able to interrupt interrupt the transmission of violence where it starts, and it's among our at-risk youth and children. And so we want to make sure that we can strengthen the partnerships with the Ministry of Education by being able to continue with data collection, which is very important, so that we really understand the issues and the challenges and the problems so that we can, in fact, create interventions.
Minister Phillip emphasized the importance of empowering non-governmental agencies and involving all citizens in supporting these efforts.
And we want to be able to continue creating interventions in partnership with the communities, with the private sector, with all citizens, and also to be able to empower non-governmental agencies to be on board in supporting the efforts. This is really definitely most literally an all of society approach. And that is really what we will be consistently pushing and pressing as we continue the work of citizen security while national security continues its work with law enforcement.
The creation of a Citizen Security Secretariat in St. Kitts and Nevis emphasizes a comprehensive approach to citizen safety and well-being. As it relates to crime statistics, reported crimes decreased by 11% in 2024 compared to 2023, with major crimes down in almost every category. Homicides decreased from 31 to 28, representing a 10% reduction. Firearm-related offenses experienced a significant 39% reduction from 31 to 19. Other decreases include malicious damage, which reduced by 30%, bodily harm and wounding, which fell 11% from 161 to 144. Larcenies decreased by 12%, break-ins reduced by 1%, and drug possession saw a 5% reduction. There was a slight increase in sexual offenses, up 6% from 68 to 72, and robberies up 8% from 39 to 42. A significant accomplishment was the resolution of 16 of the 28 homicides recorded in 2024, with the remaining cases under investigation.
Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves in early March 2025 shed light on the erection of a St. Kitts-based structure, the $22 million Eastern Caribbean Central Bank ECCB Governor's Residence, and the matter has turned into a bread-and-butter topic across the Caribbean region. Gonsalves publicly highlighted his opposition to the cost and the governor occupying the residence. Describing the structure as a monumental blunder, the Vincentian Prime Minister said it lies at the feet of the ECCB governor and it warrants disciplinary action. During the March 10 edition of Your Voice with the NRP, Dr. Patricia Bartlett weighed in on the matter. She regarded the $22 million edifice as a physical example of conspicuous consumerism.
If you were looking in a dictionary for what conspicuous consumerism is, they should put that building that Gonzal had aptly described as a palace. They should put that there and say, this is what it is, this is what it looks like. And that is not to suggest that the ECCB cannot afford it.
Bartlett laid the blame at the feet of the ECCB governor, but also expressed that the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and other groupings or offices in the ECCB's organizational structure should take some responsibility for what had been described by Gonsalves as a grand but ill-conceived residence.
I would say that these people are insensitive. This was insensitive squandermania. And the governor, I put it squarely at his feet. He should be more responsible than that. He is the one who is there for the day-to-day operations. I am well aware that they have an organizational structure, like you said. You have the Monetary Council, where you have these ministers from the various territories, who and they're the ones to give you policy direction. Then you have a board of directors. You still have the governor, you still have a deputy governor, and you have an executive committee. Now, all of them bear some responsibility. I think all of them need to take some responsibility for it. All of them would have failed us. There's no justification, in my mind, none whatsoever, for a building of this sort to cost us, and it's costing all of the territories, $22 million. For what?
Of greater concern, coming out of public discourse, the people of the region are the ones called upon to foot the bill for the residents, whilst facing rising food prices, increased poverty, and other hardships. The Vincentian Prime Minister particularly suggested that the Monetary Council consider selling the building to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, but people are waiting in anticipation of whether the suggestion would be considered and whether St. Kitts and Nevis would accept. In Bartlett's view, we ought to be more fiscally conservative, acknowledging that any exogenous shocks could apply additional pressure on the economy of the Eastern Caribbean, which is already under strain.
We ought to be shelving, we ought to be more fiscally conservative at this point in time because we don't know what's going to happen. What happens if we said, look, our medical team or medical association with Cuba, we're not going to break that. We're going to defy the US and they decide to embargo us. You know? I mean, we know central banks around the world that have collapsed. You know, we've seen it in places, you know, that they have austerity measures in place now. So we can't go around thinking that we're somehow sheltered from these shocks. And so for him to take up $22 million to spend on something, I mean, had it been his money, I would say, wow. You know, the governor doing well, you know, and I pass and admire his house. That is his money. But this is our money. And we're talking about, you know, OECS, a poor country. Why do you think they say St. Kitts must take it over? Because within the OECS, we're probably doing the best. But our best right now is not good.
Not good enough.
Our best at this point in time is not good. So what does that say for the others who are struggling? What about Dominica? What about Grenada? You know, we should be making sure that the reserves that we have put aside for when we have the shocks that we can't get help nowhere else.
Governor Timothy N.J. Antoine is 1 year shy of completing his second 5-year term with the ECCB. Unlike some persons who have called for his resignation, Bartlett did not advocate for that. However, she believes that the governor should be sanctioned. Meanwhile, Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda and the chairman of the ECCU Monetary Council, said that there is no evidence that the governor was being excessive and therefore dismissed claims of corruption. Brown advocated for a closer look at the governance framework instead of playing the blame game. Inter-Caribbean Airways unveiled an ATR 42500 aircraft branded with the St. Kitts and Nevis flag as it landed at the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw International Airport in St. Kitts on March 10, 2025. The plane, one of the custom aircraft in Inter-Caribbean's fleet, bears the name Spirit of St. Kitts and Nevis and underscores a partnership between the airline and the Federation. Marcia Henderson, Minister of Tourism, regarded the branded aircraft as a gesture that aligns with the country's marketing plan.
It is a proud moment for us as a destination. It's clear work of collaboration, networking, and this is the strategic partnership, of course, with Inter-Caribbean and all the hard work of our teams in tourism. For us, it is a part of our strategic plan to market and push the destination in the region as well. So for us, it speaks volume to partnership, it speaks volume in marketing, and it speaks volume in raising awareness of the destination within, all the different islands that this plane will fly to.
The integration of the St. Kitts and Nevis branded aircraft into the airlift network not only markets the destination, but highlights the advancements the country continues to realize. Trevor Sadler, Inter-Caribbean's Chief Executive Officer, explained that the initiative had been a long time coming and was destined to promote national pride for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Today is a day of great pride for us. It's been something we dreamed about potentially doing this for a while. It was a matter of waiting for the next airplane to come in order to paint it, but we felt by painting the flag on the tail would invoke a great sense of national pride, especially for all the folks of this country who get on this airplane. If we move them to tears, I'm very happy. But equally, it's important to carry that flag around the Caribbean, and all of this is going to help position St. Kitts around the region as we fly that airplane to and from here, but to and from other islands in the region.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Jeffrey Henley, Minister of Tourism Marcia Henderson, other members of the federal cabinet and officials from the Ministry of Tourism and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority attended the unveiling ceremony.
The Honorable Conress Maynard, Minister of Public Infrastructure, Energy and Utilities, Domestic Transport, Information, Communication and Technology and Posts, announced transformative advancements in the energy sector of St. Kitts and Nevis. Key among these developments are the deployment of new smart meters by the St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited, SCELEC, and the imminent unveiling of a feed-in tariff policy, which will pave the way for a renewable energy revolution within the Federation. Minister Maynard emphasized the multifaceted benefits of the new smart meters during the March 6, 2025 Prime Minister's press conference.
Right. So the new meters are going to be transformational for our energy sector in a number of ways. In terms of a technical viewpoint, I mentioned some of them before. We will now be able to view everything that is happening with the energy going in and out of your house. So if you say something is happening at your property, everything will be able to be recorded. These are smart meters, and so they now can be controlled from a control center and observed from a control center. So billing can be more regular, and it's going to be completely accurate. So we will eliminate the issues of errors associated with reading the meters.
The suggested enhanced monitoring capability promises to streamline billing processes and improve accuracy, eliminating discrepancies associated with traditional meter reading methods. The forthcoming feed-in tariff policy incentivizes residential investment in renewable energy sources, allowing homeowners to generate electricity and sell that energy to SCELEC.
I think the Prime Minister wants me especially to talk about the fact that very shortly we should be unveiling our feed-in tariff policy, which will mean that you can invest in renewable energy products at your home, whether it is even a small wind turbine or whether it is solar panels, and you can get into an agreement with SCELEC to produce energy for SCELEC. You sell all of it to SCELEC. That is the particular framework we're looking at. And then you will buy the remainder from SCELEC. So it's quite possible you can sell more than you ever need to buy, so you don't have a bill.
The initiative aims to empower citizens to participate actively in the nation's energy production while potentially reducing or eliminating their electricity bills. The smart meters are crucial to the success of the feed-in tariff policy. They enable accurate recording and monitoring of energy exchange between households and the grid.
And so this meter will allow for us to be able to do that and record it properly and observe everything associated with your renewable energy setup.
Furthermore, these meters will empower consumers to manage their electricity consumption effectively.
Also, of course, the new meter will allow you to manage your electricity bill even better, because you can decide that this month I'm going to put, if you have a prepaid arrangement, there will be a possibility of a prepaid and postpaid arrangement, just like your mobile phone. You will decide if you want to put on $100 this month, and you manage that how that $100 is used. You will be able to obviously get alerts and follow as to where that is, so you can actually see your usage over time and understand what you need to connect in your house to be able to manage your energy usage effectively.
With the rollout of the smart meters slated for 2025, St. Kitts and Nevis is poised to undergo a significant transformation in its energy landscape.
So this will help SCELEC, obviously. There will be no need to disconnect anyone, because you will be in complete control of your energy. You can decide when it goes on, when it goes off. That's all up to you. So there are many advantages to this AMI. And as I said, we're now well advanced in this. The rollout is going to be this year. And so it will coincide with your now ability to sell a certain amount of energy to the grid and be part of the renewable energy revolution that is going to be taking place in our federation.
Implementing these technologies promises to enhance energy efficiency, promote sustainability, and empower citizens to play a more active role in the nation's energy future. In regional news, St. Lucia Police Commissioner addresses criticism of police crime fighting strategy. HTS St. Lucia has the details.
Can the Royal St. Lucia Police Force get ahead of the curve in the crime fight on the island? Commissioner of Police Vanguard, in a sit-down interview with News Force, weighed in on the principal law enforcement agency's efforts to combat chronic violent crime. noting a concerted focus on establishing core institutional values that he believes will contribute to crime reduction and citizen safety on the island.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force over the next year intends to employ a strategy of supervision, oversight, and accountability. As long as we apply this strategy, it will culminate in a country that is safer for everyone.
Former Prime Minister and MP for Viewfort South, Dr. Kenny Anthony, in a recent Radio 100 interview, voiced his concerns regarding perceived insufficient proactive measures taken by law enforcement to avert violent incidents through mediated community engagements with aggrieved parties. He underscored the critical need for timely responses to reports to effectively address these issues. While Dr. Anthony conceded that police officers are not social workers, he contends that such strategies should be included in a tactical toolbox to diffuse disputes before they escalate.
Well, I would say that law enforcement agencies in St. Lucia needs to step up. Civil organizations need to step up. And every person with this moral responsibility needs to step up.
GARD is of the view that law and order should not be the sole responsibility of the police force. Rather, a whole of society approach is necessary in combating and preventing crime.
We all need to work together to ensure that the climate for law enforcement, safety, and a good national security climate is maintained. We could only do that by stepping up to the challenge and calling out individuals who are in conflict with the law, and again, working together to get that job done.
Crime and violence in the region have been classified as a public health concern, with St. Lucia experiencing notable rise in violence alongside other Caribbean nations grappling with similar issues. Minister for National Security, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, has responded by increasing budget allocations and enhancing resources for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, RSLPF. This includes the acquisition of new vehicles for both land and maritime operations, aimed at bolstering the force's reach and operational capacity. Additionally, plans are in place to equip every member of the department with ballistic vests and to improve headquarters and command and control capabilities. In light of escalating criminality and growing criticism, the RSLPF has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring citizen safety, accentuating the need for comprehensive collaboration among all stakeholders to effectively combat the scourge of crime. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Jamaica opposition parties stress healthcare and crime as major issues on campaign trail. Television Jamaica reports.
Members of the PNP and JLP continue to tell Jamaicans why they should form the next government. As you will hear in this report, crime and the state of the healthcare sector were the hot topics in Portland on Sunday. The two major political parties continue to crisscross through Jamaica in an attempt to rally their base ahead of the general election. Northwestern Clarendon was among the PNP stops. The seat is currently held by the JLP's Philip Enriquez. But the man who once held the seat, Richard Azan, is upbeat about a return to power in the constituency, carried by a wave that he feels will also bring about a change of government.
We are going to move to Jamaica House and make this quarter leave Jamaica House too. Because tonight, comrade, plenty of us inside here don't have one bank account. And one man have 28.
But no such change in government will happen if these JLP members have their way. Darrell Vaz, while speaking at an area council meeting in Portland on Sunday, said he was proud of the work over the last few years to make the parish one of the strongest for the JLP at present.
She run Portland. I thought I was Mr. Portland, but Ashan Ann is the real deal.
This government that I am a part of has not spent millions on road, you know. They have spent billions on road in East Portland. Never in the history of East Portland that we have had so many programs to fix road. We have the REACH program. We have the Spark that is coming. We have the patching program, and the South Coast Highway is coming all the way through St. Thomas, right through Portland.
Turning to other issues in Portland, Mr. Vaz said crime is threatening to take root in the parish. The parish has recorded 6 murders since the start of 2025.
I am very concerned and very upset in relation to the upsurge in crime in Portland. We are not accustomed to drive-by shootings, and we have had 2 in the last few days. We are not accustomed to that. We have been accustomed to being the safest parish for decades, and we have lost that position.
He said it is critical that some bad apples that have set up shop in Portland recently be removed.
And I'm calling on the police high command tonight and the Minister of National Security. Flush them out and flush them out quick, no matter who they are or who they represent. We are not going to tolerate it. And I can tell you that I will be on it from now until we restore Portland to its original state of peace and safety.
The PNP's candidate for Eastern Portland, Isaac Buchanan, and several other members of the PNP also met at a political event in Portland on Sunday. They continued to put forward their plans for the people, including in the health sector, that they say is falling apart.
We have had discussions, and we know that there are going to be some laws that are going to be needed to be passed immediately in order to reform healthcare. Drugs must be cheaper. You cannot choose between your light bill and your pharmacy bill and think that everything is going to be all right.
We now bring you these international reports.
Today marks 5 years since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Questions remain from the origins of the outbreak to the effectiveness of public health interventions. But chief amongst them is, are we any better prepared for the next pandemic? The human race is no stranger to infectious diseases. There have been around 250 pandemics or epidemics throughout recorded history. One of the deadliest ever, that's the bubonic plague, took place in the 14th century. Estimates say it led to the deaths of up to 200 million people, wiping out around half of Europe's population. Also called the Black Death, the plague is widely thought to have originated in rats and spread to humans via infected fleas. In 1918, an influenza pandemic swept the world, killing around 50 million people in the span of just 2 years. More commonly known as the Spanish flu, some estimates put its death toll as high as 100 million. Another notable outbreak of the past is the New World smallpox pandemic in 1520. The virus was brought to the Americas by the first Europeans arriving on its shores. An estimated 25 to 56 million people died. Smallpox has been completely eradicated since 1980 with the help of the world's first successful vaccine. It was also vaccines that played a vital role in preventing the further spread of COVID-19. Around 700 million people were affected globally, with the virus reaching every single continent. 7 million people lost their lives, but the actual death toll is thought to be higher than that. The WHO, though, says vaccinations reduced deaths by at least 57%. The threat of the pandemic accelerated the development of mRNA vaccines, such as the ones created by Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech. This type of vaccine is new, but not unknown. Research into how mRNA could be used to fight disease began in the 1970s. Unlike traditional vaccines, mRNA vaccines do not contain any live virus. They help our bodies produce antibodies specific to the disease. Simply put, mRNA vaccines help trigger the same immune response that would take place in a natural infection, but without the risks of actual infection. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the urgent need for swift and safe development of vaccines. But experts also say that even with vaccines, it may not be possible to prevent another pandemic.
Basically, the government struggle to combat, right, the misinformation, disinformation that weakens public confidence in vaccines and response measures, and equally important, it weakens their trust, right, in public health agencies like US CDC. So when the next pandemic or outbreak hits, that I think it will be an uphill battle for countries, the public health agencies to convince people to inject the vaccines.
In the last half an hour, the United States has agreed to immediately lift its pause on intelligence sharing with Kyiv and resume security assistance. The announcement came after 8 hours of talks between senior American and Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia. In a joint statement, Ukraine backed a US proposal for an immediate 30-day ceasefire, subject to the agreement of Russia. Well, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told journalists in Jeddah that the ball is now in Russia's court.
It's a terrible war, a costly war, a bloody war, and his number one interest is ending this war once and for all. Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Well, just to add to the Secretary's comments, the Ukrainian delegation today made something very clear, that they share President Trump's vision for peace. They share his determination to end the fighting, to end the killing, to end the tragic kind of meat grinder of people and national treasure that's happening on the front in Ukraine. Number one. Number two, they made concrete steps and concrete proposals, not only accepting our proposal for a full ceasefire, which you can see the details of which are in our joint statement that we released together, but we also got into substantive details on how this war is going to permanently end, what type of guarantees they're going to have for their long-term security and prosperity, but also really looking at what it's going to take to finally end this the horrific fighting.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: crime rate falls as St. Kitts Nevis focuses on citizen security.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett calls the $22 million ECCB governor's residence an example of conspicuous consumerism. Inter-Caribbean Airways introduces custom plane bearing St. Kitts Nevis flag.
St. Kitts and Nevis poised for renewable energy revolution with implementation of smart meter and feed-in tariff policy. St. Lucia Police Commissioner addresses criticism of police crime fighting strategy. Jamaica opposition parties stress health care and crime as major issues on campaign trail.